welcome back to the channel. What am I going to be doing today? Well, I'm going to be going through every single player from last season that had a part to play, and I'm going to be rating them. Before we get into it, just want to say a big shout out to OneFootball for sponsoring this video. It's an amazing football app and my favourite football app to use for all the latest news and scores. Go and check it out, download it using the link in the description. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. So basically, I'm going to be going through everything from goalkeepers, fullbacks, centre-backs, wingers, strikers, centre-mid, whatever, everything. And I'm going to be giving them a rating. You're all going to have different opinions on how certain players have played over the course of the season, but that's what the comment section is for. So if you want to harass me, if you think my rating is too good, too poor, I'm being too harsh on a certain player, then let me know. That's what it's all about, and we'll try and have a little discussion in the comments below. Also, make sure you like the video, it helps me feel happy. Right, so to start off, I'm going to start with Truman in goal. He played a couple of games at the start of the season, but personally, I didn't think he was quite ready. He didn't have much time, but you could sort of see it, especially at Middlesbrough away for me. So I've given Truman a 5.5 rating. I think he could be good in the future, but I know a lot of people were calling for him to replace Lee Camp because people weren't happy with Lee Camp. But for me, he just wasn't ready. He isn't ready, and he probably needs a loan next season potentially. I'd like a keeper to come in ahead of Lee Camp, and then Lee take up that second spot. Truman go out on loan. Speaking of Lee Camp, I think he was impressive at times and sloppy at times, but you have to look at it. We paid nothing for him, and he's cost us barely anything in wages. So, you know, it's not like we've signed, you know, Stockdale, who was on tens of £1,000s a week. Other players, we've been spoiled with keepers in the past, to be fair. You know, goalkeepers that went on to represent England or Ireland. So many goalkeepers. You come to Lee Camp and it's just a little bit different and it's hard to get used to. But I think he's become a little bit of a cult hero at Blues. I don't think he's amazing, but I've given him a 6.5, which is quite respectable. I think he's exceeded my expectations because I didn't expect him to do very well at all. But yeah, I like the guy. I think people have been too harsh on him this season, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so on to the fullbacks and the player that caused all the meltdown from his signing, Pedersen. For me, it was a breath of fresh air at left back. I think he was shaky at times, like a little bit too full on, a little bit too aggressive. But I think for someone who's just come in from another league, he adapted really well. He's very physical, loves to get forward, and I think he had a really good season for us, considering we've not been blessed with left backs. You know, with the ground situation, we were looking for a new left back for a very long time, and I think Pedersen is the perfect man for it. And he's still relatively young. I think he'll really grow and be one of the best left backs in the league in a year or two. For me, I've given him a 7.5. Have I been too nice to him there? Let me know in the comments below. That's what it's all about. Maxime Collin, I think he's definitely one of the best right backs in the league at the minute. Not even a right back, he's so versatile. He played at left back for a while, he's played at centre mid, and even then he's moved about, he's got in the box, he loves a run down the middle. I mean, he can play anywhere. I honestly think he can play at most positions on the pitch. He's incredible, and that's why I've given him an 8.5. I speak very highly of Maxime Collin. And he's definitely one of our best players, and definitely a player that we need to try and hold on to this summer. I think a few teams might be after him. Finally, Wes Harding, I've given him a 7. I think he, obviously it's very hard to get into this back four at the minute. He can play centre back, he can play right back, he can probably even play left back, I think. But, you know, he's put in a shift whenever he's been asked to, but mainly he's been there to cover injury, suspension, that sort of thing. But he really has put in a shift. And I can't say too much wrong about him. A lot of good defenders wouldn't get into this back four at the minute because it's so solid, but that's why I've given him a 7. I think he's definitely going to keep improving and be a really good defender in the future. Now onto the centre backs. I'm going to start with Roberts, who I've given a 6. I don't think he really had that much of a chance, but he has looked rusty when I've seen him. Got a bit of a 50p foot, to be honest. I do think there is a player in there. I do think there is. He was a really good player at Barnsley. They speak very highly of him. He was their captain, I believe. He's got the stature for it. He's really good in the air, very aggressive. But it's that touch that lets him down, I think, and maybe looks a bit panicky on the ball. But he was out injured. He hasn't had a lot of game time. I think I'm happy with him being that third choice centre back. He just needs a little bit more game time, maybe a bit of a pre-season, get himself calmed down, get himself used to it. For what we've paid for him though, he hasn't really delivered, and that's why I've given him a 6. Yeah, I'm just stepping in here. I've had a haircut, I've got a new t-shirt. Basically, I forgot to give a couple of players their ratings, so let's go into it quickly. You might see me pop up later in the video as well. Just pretend I'm wearing the same t-shirt and my hair is still growing out, and the video will work fine. Alright? Cool. So Dean, I think he played really well this season. He seemed to like peter out towards the end of it. He looked sometimes just not as good, just simply not as good at times. But we learned that he was carrying an injury for like 3 months towards the end of the season, and that gives me even more respect towards him, because he fought through the pain barrier, continued playing, and fought to the very end, which is absolutely amazing. He's had an operation now, but altogether I'm going to give Dean a 7.5. I could probably give him a 7.75, but I'm just going to give him a 7.5. I think he's been very solid for us this season, and hopefully even better next. Going on tomorrow as well, really quickly, I think he's been the same as Dean, but probably more consistent, I'd say. And obviously the goals, he's scored a lot of goals. I think he scored 7 goals this season. A lot of goals for a centre-back, and he's been brilliant for us. I just hope that he signs his contract and stays with Birmingham City next season. I'd hate to see him go, but I can imagine he's probably got a couple of offers on the table with the season that he's had. So now let's go on to the wingers. I'll start off with Moratti. We signed him in January. He was our final of the 5 signings we could make under the EFL rulings. I think he's eager. I think he's hungry. I think he'll fight for anything, even if he's not meant to. He'll challenge Zigic for a header. He would. Even if he's got no chance of getting it, he'll just want to have some sort of effect. And I like him. I like his hunger. I like what he tries to do, and I think he's got to get used to the English game. He's had a few chances. Probably should have taken more than he has, but I was really happy with his goal at Rotherham away, and he's just an all-round nice guy. He's someone you want in the dressing room. He's someone you want to play alongside, and I think he's going to be a really good player next season. Genuinely, he's got a lot in his locker, and he's still very young, and he was free. Can't complain with it. I've given him a 6.75. Now, onto Magoma. Now, it's a tricky one because he has frustrated me at times, and I'm sure he's frustrated you as well. He doesn't quite look as sharp as last season, but when you look at the stats, they're very, very similar to last season. Obviously, he picked up player and fans player of the year last season, I think, and he had very, very similar stats. It makes me think, last season, was he just shining out in a very bad team, and this season he's playing to a similar level, but the other players around him are a lot better, and he's not standing out as much, and people get frustrated with him more easily. He is lacking a certain sharpness that he did have last season. Are his legs going? I'm not sure. Is there a predictability coming into his play? Maybe. I think people have been too harsh on him at times as well. He does provide a lot for the team, defensively as well as offensively. And again, I was really happy with his goal at Rotherham. I've given him a 7. I do think people will give him a lower score. Yeah, I think a 7's fair for Magoma. He's had a pretty decent season, but just in a better side than it was last year. Let me know your thoughts on that one, because I know it's going to be a controversial topic. Right, let's move on to Viv now. Viv Solomon Atabar. It looked a really promising start for him. On the opening day, scored against Norwich, and we thought he's going to be good this season, because obviously the season before he was at Blackpool and he did really well there, and we thought this is the step up. Unfortunately for him, it just didn't happen. It didn't work. He still isn't at this level, and I think it was all summed up when Gary Monk brought him on as a sub and then took him off shortly after. That is a statement. He then went on loan to Portsmouth, where he played all right. I think they want him back, and it shows that currently his level probably is League One. He's signed a new deal, but I think that's just so we can get some compensation on him. There's no saying that he's not going to be a championship player in the future. I just think at the minute he's not really there yet, and that's why I've given him a 6. So if he does go, all the best, Viv. Next up, Hotter. He has frustrated at times. When he's played out wide, he hasn't looked as effective. Again, he's still not the player that we got from Brentford that we expected to be here. But 3 goals and 11 assists, that's 14 contributions this season. It's not too bad, and he's shown that when he's played in central position and we're playing the football that he likes to play, he thrives. And I truly think that next season, if we can sign a couple of players that complement him, he could get back to his full form. The thing we were missing is he just, where's the power on his shots and everything? Like, he used to just pass them to the keeper. I'm still, after 2 seasons, waiting for him to cut inside and bend one into the top corner from outside the box like Chris Burke used to do. But he's had a good season, and he almost had a goal of the season contender at QPR away. If you remember that little flick, and then he hit the post, and Shea tapped it in. That would have been unreal. But I've given Hotter a 7.5. I was going to give him a 7, but I've spoke to a couple of mates and I've been pushed up to a 7.5. I think he really could recapture his form next season, honestly. And I hope he does stay with us. I think he'll only leave if a fair offer is given for him. So it'll be interesting to see if he's still in the squad. And if he is, I think he could be useful. Finally, we've got Mahoney. I've given him a 7. He's been eager to run at defenders. He's been a breath of fresh air to the squad. Again, he's just a Blues type of player. Very energetic down the wing. The only thing that was a problem for me was his stamina. He seemed to tire in games. He seemed to be getting taken off 15 minutes to go every game almost. But there is a good player there, and I think next season he'll be even better. I've given him a 7. Please re-sign, Connor. Okay, we're going to centre mids now. Clifton Bell, I think he's been absolutely incredible in the middle of the pitch. When we've been missing him, we just don't look the same. He's been very, very strong. He's very good at winning the ball back, breaking down play, and he's added passing to his game, like they've discussed on the We Are Birmingham podcast. You know, they've mentioned that a lot of players have improved this season. You know, we've seen Che Adams with his finishing, Duke as well. I think Clifton Bell's another one of these players that is improving season after season. It's horrible that he's been dealt with this injury blow. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy either. Like, it's just a real shame. But I know that he's a fighter, and I know he's going to come back even better. I'm very pleased that we've triggered that extension on his contract, and I'll wish him all the best in a speedy recovery. On to Craig Gardner now, a bit of a difficult one. A season where he was pretty much outshone by his brother. He looked okay at times, good off the bench. We remember Blackburn away, changed the game. But for me, did he change enough games over the course of the season? I don't know. He's fading away a little bit into the background, and I think he'll probably go this summer. Again, I think it's summarised by outshone by his brother for me. 6.75 for him. So talking about his brother, let's do that. I think it was a great signing. He had to prove himself, coming from Villa, obviously, being the man that scored that goal against us and ran the length of the pitch. He had a lot of people that just didn't want him anywhere near the club or the team. But over the course of the season, he's taken on Blues. He knows what it is to be Blues. He loves the club. He loves the fans, and you can see that in him. And what he does on the pitch matches that as well. And to say he's won over the fans would be an understatement. Pretty much everyone wants him back for the new season. So yeah, hats off to Gary Gardner. That's a 7.5 rating from myself. David Davis, I've said not applicable. Not applicable because he was out injured for the majority of the season. He came back, and I feel like he was still affected by that. He might have been back fit, but I don't think he was match sharp. And it's hard for me to actually judge him this season, so I've not given him a rating. I don't think it'd be fair. Needs a pre-season again for him. On to Lakin. Lakin impressed me in the way he stepped up at the start of the season, looked very comfortable in the first team squad. We know how hard it is to make that step up from the under-23s to the first team, but he managed to do that. He didn't hold his place for the entire season, but I think that there's a lot more to see from Lakin. But yeah, he stepped up when we needed him, and it's really impressed me that, you know, a player of his age and that has done that. And I think again, on the We Are Birmingham podcast, I listened to Brian Dick talk about it. He said there's a lot more to his game than what we've seen so far. There's a lot more of an attacking, creative player in there, and I'm excited to see what comes out there. So that's why I've given him a 6.75 because he did impress me. So now onto the forwards, probably the best best till last, really. We'll start off with Vassell, who again I've given a not applicable. Most of his season he was out with injury. You know, he's showed signs of promise, and it looks like he hasn't lost much of his pace, which is important. But again, I think he needs a pre-season to just fully get back into the swing of things, build up that partnership with Duke that Che Adams managed to get. And I think he could be a replacement for Che Adams. He could be the player to step into them boots, genuinely. So, yeah, not applicable for Vassell. So, speaking about Duke, again, absolute workhorse this season. He's stepped up yet again and he's improved. He's shown new levels of fitness this season, and I think again it's down to James Beattie, as I think it has been with Adams as well. He just looks fitter this season. He's obviously got that finishing touch as well. His best season to date in his career, which I'm really happy with. Unreal player, not just goals, assists too. Probably my pick of the bunch was Nottingham Forest away. Obviously Villa away as well was good, but the way I could see it, I was so close to it. That header, the way he just, oh my god, I need more of them next season. Oh my god, what a player. I've given Duke a 9 because I think he would fit into pretty much any team in the Championship. I think a lot of teams will be after him in the summer, but I think we'll be able to hold on to him. He's just an unreal bloke as well. Love you, Duke. Love you. Finally, we're going to finish with Che Adams. I think a lot of us are resigned to him leaving Blues, not because of him or whatever. I think it's something that we both need. I think we need the money financially. We've had the financial issues, financial fair play, etc. And I think Adams has earned his step up. Yeah, I think he's got a really mature head on his shoulders, and I think he'll do well to choose the right team for him. So I hope he doesn't rush the decision if he does go, and I hope he takes into account the style of play of the club that he's going to. I think Duke will miss him, but hopefully, as I say, Vassell can step into those boots. They're very similar players in a way. So we'll have to see. Back again, yeah, I know, sorry. My rating for Adams, with everything that he's done, it's a 9. Of course, he's got to be a 9. He's been absolutely unbelievable. There's one player I've missed out. Omar Bogle. Very disappointed me. I'm going to give him a 6 overall. But there's one memory that I know he's going to treasure, and I'm going to treasure as well. And it's that goal, Stoke at home. What a finish, Omar Bogle. You hero. But that's it from me. Those are my ratings. Why don't you let me know your specific ratings for each player and why down in the comments below. Make sure you like the video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe with those notifications on, and I'll catch you in the next one.